So, hey everyone, I'm Felicia Maroney from Affirmative Girls, and today I'm here with Amy Iliza, and I'll let her say a few words about herself before we start the interview.
Hi everyone, I'm Amy Iliza. I am an author, a poet, spoken word artist, just a general lover of arts, and that's pretty much all I can say for now. Oh, I guess I self-published a poetry book called
That's
Late
good.
Bloomer. So yeah.
Um, I mean, you already mentioned in the intro that you self-published, but I appreciate that you took things into your own hands and self-published your own work. So I was wondering what inspired that level of independence, and is that like in every are you just an independent person or you're like, I'm not waiting for anyone?
Well, it's a mixture of a lot of things. I just find that when it comes to, let's say, the corporate world or anything in our lives, we're not really in control of much. And
Mhm.
there's always some guideline or some policy or somebody telling us what to do. And I promised myself that when it came to my art, I wouldn't do that. I feel like just in general, in order to survive, we all sell out a little bit. We have no choice. But I told myself that when it comes to my art, I'm not doing that. So
Yeah.
I was just, especially when it comes to something as personal as poetry, you can't really always rely on somebody else to understand where you're coming from or what you're trying to convey or what your vision for your book is, because as much as poetry is personal, I've been seeing that it's becoming more and more mainstream, whether it's on social media or the best time selling books. You kind of see what type of poem is popular nowadays. So I just didn't want to risk anybody telling me to kind of adapt or shift to what's popular. I wanted it to be as, you know, authentic as possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially seeing as it's the first of the trilogy. Late Bloomer is very much the diary of the three. So there was no way I was gonna let somebody tell me like what to put in my diary.
So jump on that. We do live in like a society, even still today, where like Black women being open and vulnerable is often met like with attention. And I feel like it's due to the notion that we're all supposed to be, strong Black women. And there's like a vision for what that's supposed to be, even
We're
though
either strong or angry. Those are our two options. Yeah.
even though strong, there's not one definition for that. And I feel like, how do you push past the idea that being honest about your feelings and your emotions does not equate weakness?
Whew, that took a lot of time to get there, because I promise you, growing up, I was so convinced that I was not emotional. I wanted to be everything but emotional. Every time I cried, I felt guilty about it or ashamed
Mhm.
about it. But as I grow up and you talk to your friends, you talk to the women in your family, and you're starting to realize that bottling up is really not doing anybody any service. And I don't know. I feel like there's something very brave about being open and honest. And to be frank, poetry kind of, I started poetry, I didn't mean to. It was honestly homework. I took a course in English class, like in grade 11 or 12, and it was writer's craft, and we were in the poetry, I guess, paragraph or section of the curriculum. And yeah, my teacher read it and she was like, listen, you're pretty good. And then she made me read it in front of the class. And then a guy who I was cool with, but I wasn't necessarily friends with, he came up to me and he was like, listen, if you ever write, I want to read it. So that's when I got a little bit interested in it. And then, life occurrences happen. And then you start to realize, listen, I have no way, I can't really talk to anybody. I don't feel comfortable. Let me just write it. And then from then, I guess, I don't know. It's weird whether you believe in a higher power or you believe in yourself. I feel like there's always that moment where you realize, oh, I think I'm supposed to do this. And there was just a click in my brain. And to be very honest with you, like till this day, once I sent the book to be printed, I have not read my book again because I just know that I'm gonna cringe a little bit because so I can't say that I'm fully there where I'm able to be vulnerable at all times and stand in that power and stand in that truth at all times. But I know that in terms of my personal goals, I told myself, listen, like if I tell my truth, nobody can hold it against me. Like nobody can air me out, nobody can expose me because I'm doing it for myself. So I just feel like, especially being a Black woman, because people are expecting the exact opposite, is just a form of rebellion for me in a way. It's like, you want me to stay quiet? Well, here it is, a bunch of words. And yeah, and I guess I do it also for the people who aren't at that level yet, you know? It's like, you don't have to say it, I'll say it for you, sis. It's okay.
No, I love that. I feel like I like the journey of how you said someone said they wanted to read your work, right? And I think anyone who's also a writer, and even myself, I feel like as much as we want to say that we have our own self confidence, other people boosting us is really going to get us there.
Yup.
And it's like it's hard to admit to even being a writer and
Mhm.
saying, when people ask what you do and being like, to being like,
Exactly. Hmm.
going on that, I was just wondering what the significance of the title Late Bloomer, yeah, what the title is.
Okay, so obviously there's that connotation of, being late in the standards of society. But for me, it was more, I've always had this feeling internally that I was stunting my own growth. Like, I don't know, even from a very young age, I always felt like I wasn't operating at my fullest potential. And I don't know if that's just being the child of African parents and being in a world where you have to be excellent when you're Black and all of these things. Like, I'm sure all of that played a part in me feeling that way, but it was just like a personal thing. I always felt like, I don't know, I didn't know how to change it, but I'm like, I feel like I'm not watering myself properly, or maybe I'm studying my growth, I'm not living up to my highest potential. And once I really figured out that that's exactly how I was feeling, and that feeling wasn't really leaving year after year, I'm like, okay, let me start digging into my past. Like, are there things that I'm running away from? Are there things that I haven't talked about, but deep down, they're weighing me down, they're anchoring me down? And that's kind of, as I started the process of really just burning away and digging into myself, that's when I started to realize, okay, like, I was right. And I think that everything that's written in the book basically comes together into the theme of late bloomer, where it's like, oh, listen, like, here are all of the things that constitute my growth and the lack thereof. So that's basically what it is.
So I'll switch to one, because you mentioned that this one is part of a trilogy. Have you
Mhm.
started compiling the next one? And is it coming out anytime soon?
I definitely already started on the second one, because before I decided that it was going to be a trilogy, I was kind of putting the pressure on myself where I'm like, okay, I'm doing one book. That way, if it's the only one I write, everything's in it. I was telling myself, I'm like, yo, you're not going to put out a poetry book of 400 pages. Like,
Yeah.
you need to calm down. You need to realize it, everything at its time. So the second book is actually going to be called As Black as Poetry, and I would love for it to come as early as possible, but seeing as I'm kind of stuck in the house, I just feel like I have more research to do. I would love to travel to more Black countries. I just feel like there's more for me to live and to learn and to understand in order to really do the second book justice. But crossing my fingers, I'm hoping that it will be done October 22. But we'll see. We'll definitely see.
I mean, that's good, because then, if that's if I know that's coming out, that means we're also traveling, right? Again, yeah.
Exactly.
So, do you?
Hopefully.
Is there any specific countries you're hoping to go to, or just you're just trying to see as many different Black cultures?
I'm trying to see and go to as many places as I want. Like, if there's Black people there, I want to be there. You know, that's really what it is.
Yeah.
Because I think that as much as we all have Blackness in common, the way we live it, the way we, transcribe it is not always the same. So I'm really trying to pay homage to all of that,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, I'm Rwandese and I love being from Rwanda, but I consider myself a Pan-African first. And I believe that all Black people, whether they're from the Caribbean or etc., like, we have common ancestry, right? So I'm just trying to do justice to all of us. I'm not one of those people who think that just because you come from different countries or different areas of the world that, there's a separation between us. I just feel like whether you're African American or whichever, at the end of the
Mhm.
day, when it comes to the color of our skin and the way we're treated in the world, it's the same thing. So as Black as poetry, I don't know, I just feel like Late Bloomer was very, like I said, um, it was more personal in the sense that anybody could relate to it, or it's dedicated to anybody.
Mhm.
But as Black as poetry is going to be for my Black people. Like, everybody else can digest it and
Yeah.
enjoy it and buy it if they want. But as Black as poetry is really going to be dedicated to my Black people and Black people everywhere. So I just want to make sure that, I do it justice and do it properly.
I have one last question for you before.
Okay.
So how would you encourage other Black women who want to be open and transparent through their artwork, but have a difficult time showing their authentic selves to an audience of readers or viewers?
You just have to do it. I wish there was a formula, or it's honestly, you just have to do it. You have to decide that you want to do it and then you do it, regardless of how you think people are going to react to it. There's some poetry in my book that my family did not know of. They learned more about me in it. So it's just one of those things where you have to decide that you have every right to exist, and because you have every right to exist, you have every right to expression. And you deserve to express yourself. And the way I see it is, we're only on earth for a little amount of time, if you really think about it. So you have to basically decide that your legacy is more important than what people are going to think or talk about right now. So it's really one of those things where you have to affirm yourself. We have no choice. Like, we literally have no choice. They're trying to erase us. They're trying to step on us. Not even trying. That's what they're doing, and they've been doing for so long. So it's really one of those things where I wish there was a formula or any other advice other than you have to. Like, that's literally all it is. You have to decide and you have to show up for yourself. That's really the main thing. Show up for yourself in your relationships, in your career, in your art. You just have to always show up for yourself. And it's easier said than done. I'm just really learning to do that now, and I'm 27. But I think that what's beautiful is for the younger girls and women, I'm starting to see that they're jumping on that train earlier, and for us that a little bit older, we're still early if you really think about it, because some of our older women, they're really just starting to step into themselves, like in their 50s, in their 60s. So I just think that generation after generation, we're getting to that earlier. So inspire yourself, inspire the younger ones, inspire the women around you. But that's what it is. You have to show up for yourself. That's really all you can do, because if you don't show up for yourself, people won't do it for you. I think also, if I can add something, redefining what success is for yourself, because especially right now with social media and stuff, I think that a lot of it is based off of likes and shares and all of these metrics. But if you really think about it, like, let's say me, I dropped this book, and let's say there's only one single person on this earth who liked it, but it meant the world to that one person. That is success.
Yeah.
Like, that is actually success. You know, I think that we put so much emphasis on money and fame and just popularity, but the impact is what we're starting to not really pay attention to. Because if you think about like the music, like a song could be a top hit today and nobody talks about it afterwards. But there are some songs or some artists who never topped the charts or never won anything, but we still play the music today. So I think it's the same thing for any medium, any type of art. Like you could be a painter and you don't care to be anywhere, but you only do one painting, and that's the one painting that a person looks at for the rest of their life. So it's just redefining what success is to you and showing up for yourself. Like those are the two things I could really say.
So I'm going to drop all the info from where people can get your book, your
Yes.
videos, and the website, and hope that people check you out because they should. And
Thank you.
you wish you best of luck on the next video, the next book, and I can't wait to see what you do. And
Thank you.
for taking the time to talk to me today.
Thank you so much for having me and for what you're doing with your platform. It's actually so beautiful to see and getting the exposure to other Black women who are doing great things. So it's a great initiative. Shout out to you.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll keep in touch anyway.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye, everyone.